Hi, this is Mark with Success 4, and I'm lucky enough to be here with Lewis Raymond Taylor. Good morning, Lewis.
Hi Mark, how you doing?
Yeah, all good, all good. Thank you for joining us. Now, Lewis is a coach, a speaker and a trainer, but it's not always been that way, has it, Lewis?
Absolutely not. No.
Now, one of the reasons I really wanted to bring Lewis on, and just a casual interview, really, because it's a really interesting story and a really powerful story that I'm hoping people can take a lot of value from and learn a lot from it. So, Lewis, can we go right back to the beginning? Let's talk about the younger years.
Okay. Just quickly, I probably should have asked you this before, but roughly how much time have we got? Because I could probably talk to you for months, so just let me know how you want me to talk.
Around about half hour or longer, if you wish. So, I mean, the more value we offer our listeners, the better. So,
right. So, stemming it right back, I've never really had that opportunity growing up to sort of explore my emotions and my thoughts outside of my own head. It was normal for me to do that. Mm-hmm. I was never sort of asked how I was, sad as that sounds, and just sort of put up with it and got on with it, kind of thing. I just thought that was normal. So the only sort of, my dad was an alcoholic. He was very angry at times, of course, and that was probably the only emotion I really expressed, was just anger.
Okay.
But obviously, I didn't necessarily outwardly display it, but I felt that anger inside, and it was sort of something that I did have outbursts of anger, of course, but I always had that underlying feeling of restless irritability and sort of discontent and anger within inside, and I just sort of got on with it though. I've always thought that I was capable, but felt completely the contradicting belief on the opposite end. Yep. So I thought I was capable, but didn't feel like I was, and that was mainly for my dad. He would just put me down a lot. He would say, you'd never amount to anything. One thing that always stick in my mind that I'll never forget is he always used to call me a buffoon.
Okay.
And it was
the power of the word, yeah.
Yeah, and it was probably in argument. It's not like he just randomly sort of said, "Oh, Lewis,
Yeah.
But it was enough for me to remember and stick with me. And he probably said it only a handful of times, but I believe
it was enough. Yeah.
It was enough. Yeah, and I was capable at school. I always got this very cliche school report that was like, Lewis is very capable, but doesn't put in the effort or work, and he's a naughty boy. And I was almost expelled from primary school. I didn't think that was even possible to do, but I was always in trouble. And I was just sort of grew up 2 steps forward, 3 steps back kind of thing all the time.
Why do you feel you're always in trouble, Lewis? Was that a rebellion thing? Was it a trying to get noticed? What was it?
I mean, I didn't identify it at the time, but absolutely, I've always liked attention. Still to this day, do crave it. I'm working on it, but I was going out and I was causing trouble to get negative attention. I guess any attention is attention, regardless of if it's negative or positive, and it's quite obvious now. But I used to go around smashing bus stop windows, almost like one by one. Like, why would anyone do that? And it was just a case of, and I would shoplift and things like that and set fires, and it was just literally just trying to be seen. I guess.
What sort of age was that, Lewis?
It must have been probably about 10 or 11 years old, and I started getting arrested at about 13 for these things, and that led to a life of crime.
Okay.
Yeah, that was from very early. I mean, I had an ASBO at about 14. That was it was called an antisocial behavioural contract, where I was actually banned from the area.
Okay.
Couldn't do certain things. Can't really remember what the conditions were now, but then that progressed, and I got expelled from school, and was in a young offenders institution by 18.
Yeah, so it's a very slippery slope, and and then obviously from there you went on, and there was a stint in prison.
Yeah, there was a few. I mean, the young offenders institution, I was in there at 18. That was a fully fledged prison. It was just one for 18 to 21-year-olds. It was like a AA category prison in Wood Hill, which was like full of people serving 30-year sentences for murder at 18 years old. It wasn't a good place to be. But yeah, I mean, that when I came out of there, it had almost done more damage than good, because it was just, that was the worst thing they could throw at me, and it was almost like self-destruct. So, that's when the drink and drugs started piling on. I thought I was the boy going out in fights, and things just really got even worse and worse and worse. This whole time, it was just that anger that I felt inside. And part of the short story I shared recently, it was I'd always felt very powerless, because my dad it wasn't violent to me all the time, but there were occasions through these arguments would escalate into him hitting me and things like that, and I could never fight back. I just felt like I was powerless.
Yeah.
And once I got a bit older and I realised that I had a bit of drink in me and that I actually once did have the courage to fight back, that sort of set off something in me which made me feel powerful. And I've become addicted to that in a way, because it was a way of me feeling that power that I was looking for.
Yeah.
And that's what made the violence even worse, and that's what obviously got me in more trouble with the police.
Wow! And so there was a sudden moment of clarity.
Yeah.
What sort of age was that, and what was it that made you realise this?
Well, there's a few things that it's always a contribution of things, but you do have these light bulb moments, but they do tend to. You don't just always have the one.
Yeah.
For me, the main one was I was in prison again. This was the third time. This one was for GBH. And this was in between me sort of getting my act together. So like I said, I always take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back.
Yeah.
Like I would actually achieve things. Like there was a point in between all this, in between all the drugs and the drink and the gambling and the violence and the crime, where I actually managed to get my act together and get a stable relationship and build businesses. Like I had 2 businesses at a young age. I even managed to build a career and working in Canary Wharf as a business development manager. So things were going well, but I'd always just sabotage it all.
Yeah.
And yeah, this epiphany moment was like I was back in prison in my mid-20s. I kept on nearly getting all these things and achieving this success, and just ended up back at square one, wondering where it all went wrong. Like the world was to blame, and it was everyone else's fault, and I had such bad luck. And it's quite funny. My friend took a photo of me when I was getting sentenced to this last sentence in prison, and he found it really funny, and so did I at the time actually, that we had a very similar picture of me outside the exact same courtroom 7 years earlier.
Wow. Okay.
When I was in prison, I rang up my friend and I said, "Oh, tell me what's on my Facebook, what are people saying, And he said, "Oh, there's a picture from your friend on here, both pictures of you, one from 7 years earlier outside the same courtroom, and the caption he put on it was nothing changes."
Wow.
And that was powerful for me at the time, because I just, for some reason, it didn't seem so funny. And I was like, that's exactly right. Nothing changes.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what I'm doing, I'm still getting the same result. And I realised I needed to do something different. And it was at that moment in which I took responsibility for myself. And I realised that I needed to, if I wanted my life to change, it was me that needed to change. And it is so cliche with the whole prison awakening moment. But for me, this is actually what it was. And from there, like I said, it wasn't just that one sort of epiphany moment. There was a few other moments of clarity. I went in and, I was expelled from school at 15. I left with no GCSEs, and after this awakening almost, I went into the education department in the prison and started trying to learn basic maths and English level 1 qualifications. It's like the equivalent of a 9 or a 10-year-old.
Amazing, yeah.
And there was this one. I used to get really angry. I actually thought I was angry at the work somehow.
Yeah.
I used to screw the work up, not doing this shit, all this sort of childish behaviour. And the prison tutor, a lovely old lady, older lady,
yes, yeah,
called Susie. She just sat down next to me and she just asked me what the matter was. She says, "What's the matter?" Mm-hmm. And for the first time in my life, I just blurted out, "I just don't understand."
Yeah.
And it was from there I just realised straight away that this whole time I've been angry at myself for not understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Been thinking about all this stuff about being called a buffoon and stupid, and I didn't want anyone to think that I was stupid. So by refusing to do it was distancing myself from that pain.
Yeah.
And it just makes so much sense now, but at the time I had no idea. And she supported me, and I did my maths and English qualifications, and I just said to her one day, "Do you think I could go to university?" And she just looked at me with the most clarent conviction straight in my eyes and just said, "Of course you can."
Yeah.
And it was just, again, another one of these moments where yeah, I can. So I left prison with a goal, to go to university, and I knew that I had to get myself clean and sober first. So I admitted myself into a 6 months fully intensive rehabilitation treatment centre. That was intense. That was 24-hour therapy. That was, it was torture at times, I'll be honest with you. There was times I wanted to leave. And another awakening that I had was I realised that I had 2 sets of voices in my head, these limiting and these empowering beliefs.
Yeah.
At the time, I only ever noticed one voice. It was just one overpowering voice, which I acted on. I thought, if you can't trust yourself, who can you trust? Mm-hmm. I used to act on this voice, and I remember once I wanted to leave the rehab because I genuinely thought that the treatment was trying to brainwash me in some way. Just think that I don't want to be like you lot. I haven't got a problem. I just need to learn how to drink and not take drugs, and I'll be fine. So trying to brainwash me to be like everyone else and a sheep and all this sort of nonsense. And the counsellor at the time looked at me and just said, "Lewis, your best thinking has put you into prison and into rehab. Maybe your brain needs a good wash."
Like it, yeah, yeah.
So that's a very good point. And I realised that my thinking was not working. No matter how much I tried to tell myself, whatever I was giving myself in my head and I was acting on was not working. Yeah. So I started differentiating the two voices, the ones that were serving me and the ones that were keeping me stuck. And I wrote myself a note. When I was in that clear-minded, knowing what I needed to do, that denial was exposed, and I knew I wanted to do this with my life, and I wanted to make something of myself. I clearly captured that note, that feelings that I was experiencing onto a piece of paper, and wrote myself a note to myself about what I wanted to do, and stuck that on the wall. So every time I had those limiting beliefs coming in, telling me that I didn't need to be here, and it was a load of rubbish, and that it was going to be too difficult, and I don't deserve it, and all that stuff, I'd look back up at the note and realise that there was more to this than I gave myself. I don't know. I guess credit for. I didn't.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
More to it than I was thinking. Because the thing is, when you're in that limiting belief, when you're in that negative mindset, it's very easy to assume that you've always felt like that, and you're always going to. You forget that there's all these other things that you want to achieve, and there's all these other ways you felt before.
Yeah.
So actually having it as tangible evidence on your wall from you is like, well, okay, I've been here before.
Yeah.
I don't give my power to this voice, and I can continue moving forward. That's really strange, but that one note stayed me from staying into rehab.
It's really amazing, the power of writing things down. I know, from we'll come on to it in a minute, but from your coaching point of view and mentoring and things, I'm sure it's something you use within that, because I know most coaches do. But I mean, the power of just writing something down, the chance of it actually happening once you write something down is just amazing difference it makes. So so from there, obviously, you've got your qualification. So coming out of prison, where did we go from there?
Well, I immediately knew that the 6 months treatment that I was in, although that was a massive foundation and really did thrust me in a new direction, I knew that it had to be sustainable, and there was a hell of a lot of work I needed to do.
Yeah.
I always thought that if anyone was ever going to prove change was possible, it would not have been me. I had a lot of old stuff that was holding me back, and I would have been very, very difficult to be able to help. So I knew that although I'd made progress, I couldn't afford to actually stop. I needed to continue developing myself. So I went into 12-step recovery meetings, and Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, and they do a 90 meeting in 90 days, which is really to get yourself amongst it. So I was doing meetings every single day. I was doing volunteering. I was working for, I was volunteering for Push Recovery. It was advocacy for people that need empowering in the community, such as homelessness and substance misuse and stuff like that. And that really opened my eyes to all the different sort of personal development industries and how disjointed they were.
And how were you at the time, Lewis, with the anger side of it? Is that something that you'd suppressed, or is that something that was...
Yeah, I worked through it. I did have... I know I keep on mentioning the word cliche, because sometimes I feel like it is very, very cliche, my story, but I did have that typical in therapy breakdown moment where I just blurted out crying, and everything came out, all the words I didn't even expect to come out, and from there, as well as everything else, and just been able to explore the truth of what was going on and start to express and feel my emotions, I was able to work past that, and I haven't had a single argument since that last fight I went to prison for, and had a fight since, had an argument since. I haven't even found, obviously there's times where I've been maybe mildly frustrated like anyone else, but the anger's gone, it's been released. So
wonderful. And then obviously from that you've gone on to become what did you do first? Was it the speaking side of it, the coaching?
From the education, I went back to college. I did study business. To my surprise, I ended up leaving with the highest marks in the entire college, like distinction in every module.
Congratulations. Yeah.
And that's not something I try and brag about, but just share hope about, because that was from someone that thought he was stupid and was a buffoon.
Do you think that's what made you so determined to walk out there with a top grade?
Definitely. I just wanted to prove it to myself, because I spent so long wasting my life and thinking that I was incapable, when actually it was the direct opposite. I was definitely capable, and part of me knew that the whole time. It's just aligning your thoughts with your feelings is what allows you to actually move forward. And so I left there and I got into university and started a business. The business, what I wanted to do from the very start, wasn't actually become a coach. It was it was my catalyst for change was having that safe and secure environment where I was able to discuss what was going on for me in that safe and secure environment, cross-examine other people's ideas and aspirations, learn from other people's mistakes, feel a part of a community and support, just have somewhere where I felt like I said, a part of.
Yeah.
And I want to facilitate that same environment for people that haven't got substance misuse and alcohol problems. This is a common problem of people that are feeling unsupported, that are not feeling motivated, that need some support to maybe develop themselves or improve an area of their life. And that's where I built my online community. Now that community, Hunger Start Community Network, has got thousands of people from all over the world in there now.
Yeah, brilliant.
And from there, I started to. What I wanted to do is build that into a physical program where people could come and feel supported, as well as have access to workshops and motivational speakers and things like that. And from trying to warm people up to that opportunity, I started to coach people. Unsuspecting to me, I just started helping people.
Yeah,
helping those people, I was actually getting transformational results in their life, and I was the most surprised by it. And then at that point, I realised I was a coach. Hang on a minute, I'm a coach here, kind of thing. And went back and did some more qualifications and accreditations on that side of things, and then become a coach. And then that's when speaking opportunities popped up, a few workshops in some colleges and schools and things like that. And things have just sort of progressed from there, really, where I sometimes had to sit back and think, hang on a minute, how has this all happened?
Yeah, and I think sometimes with coaching, people don't set out to become a coach. I know one of the things, my thing was always, I've always been doing business coaching, and generally for sort of new businesses and sort of single sort of self-start and things like that. And when I first started, I wasn't actually coaching. It was just people coming to me and asking advice, and and then you get somebody who starts taking your advice, and suddenly they're doing well, and you sort of think, oh, that's and what was so through doing that, and it sounds very similar to yourself, where you're trying to help people, and then suddenly you realise that you're actually coaching. How rewarding was that for you when you first noticed that you're actually having an impact in people's lives?
Massively. It was just sort of almost like, I'm not sure if I believe in fate, but whether I do or don't, it just sort of felt like this was always supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Because I turned out to be really good at it. Whether I'm good at it, it was just this immense amount of life experience that I can bring to the table. One of the two, or accumulation of the both. I'm very good at getting the results for people, and that makes me feel great. So it's not just for them. I feel great doing this.
Yeah.
It's not a job for me. I'm full time doing this now, and I do this on the weekends, I do this in the evenings. It's just not work. I just love it. So that is just so rewarding to be able to see that change in people, and also know that I'm doing something I love doing.
And with the speaking you're doing, so obviously you say you're doing that in schools and universities and things like that. Yeah. What sort of feedback are you getting on that when you're speaking to people?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, what I didn't really expect was a lot of the people that are drawn towards me at the moment tend to come from an academic background, because I've got that experience of leaving school with no GCSEs and getting into university, and that quick progression of growth and learning of new things, and that's sort of how it's tended to be, more in the colleges and the universities and things like that. But what I really want to be doing is doing more the motivational, inspirational type things. Yeah. Self a goal a little while ago. Literally yesterday, to get on a TEDx event, so that'd be cool. Yeah. So that's something I want to do. I've been getting a great response, and that's again surprising to me, because I've still got all my beliefs that I'm working through, and I still have to break through them on a constant basis. I think that people don't want to hear my stuff. I think that people aren't going to get any value from it, and it's until you do it and you push past it that you see that's the complete opposite.
I think it's so valuable, and there's so many people out there, and I think every experience is different, every situation is different, but there's certainly people out there who can take a lot of value from where you were and where you are now, and know that there are answers, there are, and it's really, everyone's on a separate, different journey, but it's just recognising the path and and which way you want to go. If somebody was in the situation you were in your younger days at the moment, what would be your first bit of advice to them?
It's very difficult, because I feel like everything sort of happens for a reason in a way, and when you're ready to change and you come to that point where you've had enough, that is enough, not almost to change. You have to be ready for it. But all I can say is there is more to life than that. One thing I did realise is I was very fixed in the way I thought the world worked, and what I thought was possible for me. Yeah. I associated myself with certain people because they enforced the beliefs I had. They made my life justifiable and where I was at, And I thought that was all there was to life. I thought that life, everyone was drug addicts. I was convinced that everyone in the top jobs and everything, and even doctors and the Queen was probably on drugs as well. That's how deluded. Well, I didn't think that, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I didn't think there was more. So if someone was listening, what I'd want to tell you is there is more to life than what you're giving yourself credit for. You are capable of doing more than what you give yourself credit for, and the only way to find that out is go and seek it. Have a try, go and see what else is out there, and make an informed decision whether or not that's the path that you want to take, or if there's potentially something else for you to move into.
And it sounds to me like one of the big turning points for yourself was being honest with yourself.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, and that sounds, and I think there's a lot of truth in that, and certainly across the board, really. I mean, even when I'm business coaching, the amount of people who aren't honest with themselves of where they are in business, how capable they are, how, whether they can actually do what they're trying to set out to do. Just being honest with yourself, and it's an amazing turning point, because it stops becoming an ego and more of a journey. So that's some really good advice there. So as of now, then, so now you're coaching, you're training, you're doing your speaking, you've got your TED. I'm hoping you've got that written down. Your TEDx goal written down. So what's next? Where are we going with it?
Well, at the moment, I'm just sort of, life's progressing in such a lovely way that I don't really feel the need to look so far ahead in the future. Okay. I just want to consistently moving forward, making progression, helping as many people as I can. In terms of, from a business point of view, I'm looking at spending some time now with another business partner that's willing to invest in what I'm doing, and scaling something on a more of a wide audience in terms of providing my value in terms of direct exchange of my time, because it's a small audience. I want to build online programs, communities, and things where I can reach a wider audience to really make the impact that I know that I can. Right. So that's the next stage, which I'm really excited about. But who knows? Who knows? As long as I keep on moving forward, taking steps in the right direction, doing the next best thing, I know I'm going to get where I need to be, wherever that is. I'm not sure yet.
That's amazing. And one of the questions I try and ask everybody is, I'm assuming a lot of this information has come from self-growth, from self-education, from books, from reading. So I try and ask everybody what their top couple of books would be. If somebody was looking at getting into self-development and educating themselves, what would be your recommendation for a couple of books that people could look out for? Okay.
Difficult, because the ones that really allowed me to grow were actually mainly focused around recovery, because at the time my sole focus on life was to get clean and sober, because that was the first obstacle I had to overcome. So there's a lot of Narcotics Anonymous books, a lot of Alcoholics Anonymous books. Now, if you've got specific issues along those lines, and they have a lot of valuable, profound insight in terms of growth, regardless of the addiction. From there, I've read a few other books, Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad Poor Dad, The Chimp Paradox, Dan Meredith's How to Be, I don't know if I can swear here, but it's effing awesome. It's great. I'll do a little plug for him in that. But I've actually got a stack of about 30 books. I've read Super Coach, Prosperous Coach, a lot of coaching books as well, personal development. A lot of I tell you what, to get a good foundation of knowledge, the dummy books. I've read about 4 of those dummy books. They're about thick like that, but they've got coaching, NLP, counselling, psychotherapy, and you get really good foundation knowledge from those books. So,
and how important with everything you're doing has that been, reading books and taking on that?
Well, absolutely, it's going to be important to my growth moving forward. I mean, I've got a lot of experiential knowledge, but I would be arrogant if I didn't think that there was not more to learn and things that could be supplemented to fill build those foundations and build upon it. So I'm looking at that's a goal for this year. I want to try and read as many books as possible, read leaders and all that stuff. There's so much to learn from. So I don't know, there's so many books that I could recommend.
Always growth is always opportunity.
There's my book, which is a good one.
Well, that's where I was coming on to. Tell us a bit more about it.
At the moment, it's a downloadable book. It's one that's available on my website. It's called Brainwashed: How to Sort Your Head Out and Make Things Happen. So it's spoken very, very simply from a very, very practical based application point of view for people that maybe don't like to be bombarded with certain long words and things from that are trying to portray how clever they are. On occasion, it can become quite monotonous to actually get through that stuff. So this very, very basic English, very, very practical based, what works. about exploring your beliefs and things that may be holding you back, and taking action to move forward and make things happen. That is something that I'm actually working on at the moment to turn into a more, because it's 10,000 words, so it's classed as a short read at the moment.
Yeah.
Completely free to download on the website, but what I want to do is actually get that published and get that as a paperback. So I'm working on expanding that at the moment, but in terms of downloadable, it's available now.
Brilliant. And so just a few plugs. Where are people going to find this? What's the website? What's the how do people get in contact with you?
Right, so yeah, find me on social media. The best thing about me is my name is actually the only one in the world, surprisingly. The only one
Always handy.
I'm the only Lewis Raymond Taylor on Facebook and on Google. So if you plug me into any of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of them, I'm there. More than happy to answer any messages from you guys if you need any support or you want to ask me any questions.
Brilliant.
I'm always available. But yeah, my website again is www.lewisraymondtaylor.com. And there's obviously the book on there. There's some blogs on there. There's access to our online community network that I spoke about, and I also offer complimentary discovery sessions. So if anybody wants to reach out and you're interested in coaching and the value that it has to offer, then let's have a conversation and see if we can make things happen together.
Lewis, that's brilliant. Thank you ever so much for joining us on Successful. I really appreciate it. Your story offers so much value to, and and people can just take away sections of it that are going to help them. So, and like Lewis said, please visit his website, check out the book. If that's Lewis is putting value out there free of charge, make use of it. There is so much value out there, and people who say they haven't got the money, haven't got the time, whatever, to educate themselves. There's so much value out there that's free of charge. That's like you say, it's a relatively short read, so it's it's going to give them value, short amount of time. So people, make use of these people who are willing to give you value free of charge. And if you resonate with Lewis in any way, please connect with him and ask any questions you need to connect. Lewis, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate your support, Success4, and hopefully we can catch up again in the future with any other future work you're doing. So.
Thanks
guys,
very much.
This is Lewis Raymond Taylor on Success4, joining me, Mark Daniels, and I'd like to just ask you all just to like and share the page. Thank you very much.